Alright, so we created our puzzle cube and now we're ready to make our wheels. We are back inside of our main dashboard. Here's our puzzle cube document. Now we want to create one for the wheels. So I'm going to go over here to create, left click on document. I'm going to name this 3D printed wheels. Wheels with a Z though, because they're cool. So we'll let that load up right quick. Alright, here we go. So let's get started. So we're going to be making these wheels right here, and we've got a pretty specific specification. So the wheels must be only 2.5 inches in diameter, and they have to have a very certain shape right here so our motor can drive them. I'm going to walk you through how to do that. Let's start by making a sketch. So we're inside of Part Studio. I'm going to click on the top frame and I'm going to hit in. Now I'm looking down on top of it. So wheel is a circle, right? No surprise there. I'm going to click on the circle, pull it out, and as you see, it could be kind of any size right now, and I want to change that. So I'm going to click on dimension, then I'm going to click on my circle. I'm going to type 2.5. That's the size that we decided on. Okay, so now we have a circle, but we need a way to drive it. So what we'll do is we'll come in here and we'll click on this shape right here. This is called inscribed polygon. This lets us create that hex. So it's letting me pull it out, and if you see you can turn a little bit, what I like to do is just move it right on this line where you see that bit of a dotted line. So I'll click again, and then now it's letting me change the number based off where this is. So we are going to be having 6 sides. Click on it again, and now it's blue. So here I have this, I can change the size, and what we're going to do is make this 3 divided by 8. Then we're going to hit plus 0.02. Why is that? Well, when you 3D print something, sometimes the parts shrink a little bit. So it's called a shrinkage, and basically, let's see if there's any good examples of it. You can kind of see it here between these two parts. Sometimes the bottom will shrink a little bit, but basically when we 3D print, you can only be so certain that it's the actual size. Sometimes they warp, the plastic shrinks. So even though we want this to be 3/8, in reality, either this piece is going to be a little bit big or the wheel is going to be a little bit small. So you have to leave in tolerances. So our tolerance in this example is 0.02 inches. Great. So now we have the basics for a wheel. And if I wanted to extrude this, I could. So I can hit on check mark. I can come to extrude, click on sketch 1, and I can change the width. So we're going to make the width of our wheels 0.5. Won't be able to change that, and I get check mark. And this is kind of a boring wheel, and this one has some things in it, but it's not too exciting. I want to put my name inside of my wheel. So one of the ways that I can do that is by removing. So if I click sketch and I click on my wheel's face, I hit normal, so I go to the front of my wheel, and let's say I want to make a C. So I'm going to go ahead and click on arc. Arc is this one right here. And arc, you click once, and then you click again to go in the next position, and then you can change the angle by moving it around. And then I click again, and now that arc is finalized. So I'm going to make this kind of a boring C. I'm going to click on this, and I'm going to click on this line right here. I'm going to click on coincident. So that means that now this point is stuck on that line. I'm going to do the same thing for this one. Click there, click coincident. So I also want it to be kind of in line with this whole thing. So I'm going to just click here and here. So let me explain this. That is the center point of this circle. So if you imagine this arc was actually a big circle, like you can kind of see it becoming right now, this is the center point of that. So I want this center point to be the same center point as my wheel. Click on both of them, click coincident, and now this has to be the same. And I can change the size of it. So let's say I want my distance between here and here to be 0.25, and then I want to make another one of these. So I can go and I can click on offset, click on my arc, and I see this arrow. I can drag it along, and offset just creates the same thing, just offset a little bit. So I move it, I click away, I'm going to change that to 0.25. So now I've got these points and they can keep moving, so I'm just going to click there. Oops. I'm going to click on the dot, click on the line, click on insert, coincident, do the same thing over here. And now these aren't connected, so I need to click on line, and I need to connect these two pieces. And then I've kind of got a C right here. If I wanted to, maybe I can make it a little bit longer, but for right now, I'll just leave it the way it is. So I want to remove this from my wheel. I'm going to click the check mark. I'm going to go over to extrude, and I'm going to click my sketch. And there's a few different options. So right now it's trying to pull it out. I want to remove. I'm getting all these notifications. And you've got a few different options. So I could remove this all the way. That's one option. I got my C inside my wheel. Or I can remove it just partway. So it's 0.5 long, can make it 0.25. And there it is. Now one thing to remember, I talked about that 3D printed overhang. I could only do this on one side. So I could not remove, for example, something like this. If I made a 1/2 inch circle right here in the middle that was 0.25 away, and I extruded that and removed 0.25, I wouldn't be able to do this. And the reason why is when you print it, you've got to print it on one flat side. So this is like the bed of the printer, this plane right here. If I printed it where this was the bottom of my part, right? So like, let me just show you. I can export this part. I'm going to rename it. I'm going to call it wheel. I can right click. I can hit export. Change this name to wheel. It'll download it. So there's my wheel.stl. I can pull it into this program right here. Cura. Go to normal, delete my squirrel, goodbye squirrel, and then I'll load in that wheel that I just made. So that was this part right here. Here it pops up. So I can now see layer by layer how it would print my wheel with 3% info. We'll probably change this to like 20 when we print your wheels. So I can see it makes this grid, but right here I have this overhang. And do you remember how I was talking about it's bad to have overhangs because it'll droop? So that's what might happen here. There's actually a way to look for that. It's called overhang. So it'll show us where it's red. So right underneath there, it's very red. Not the main surface, but beneath that. So when you design this, just remember that it's okay to have it partially removed as long as it's only on one side. So this would be an example of a wheel. I suggest you design several wheels and you find one that you really like, and we will help you design and finalize what would be a good one to print, and we'll have some example ones to show you too. But really, have fun with it, be creative, excited to see what you guys come up with.